Build a Green is presenting this webinar on behalf of the Energy Network, which is a local government organization created by the CPUC that provides resources and assistance to homeowners, businesses, and public agencies planning energy efficiency upgrades serving the Southern California region. These services include community education and outreach, such as these webinars, rebate and incentive offerings, attractive financing terms, and tools to help identify contractors that have been trained in energy efficiency. Additional resources help homeowners take the next steps towards saving energy. In addition, innovative water conservation and energy efficiency solutions such as passive heating, solar water heating, electric charging stations, drain water heat recovery systems, and living roofs have all begun to take hold in our cities and are making their way in all parts of the state. Residents are not only soon to become better educated about resource conservation, but they will begin to look for properties that reflect those values back to them, which is such a timely issue, as our presenter today will discuss what a homeowner needs to know when a home has a solar system. Today's presenter is Rob Driscoll of Renova Solar. Rob Driscoll has more than 25 years of real estate experience. During that time, he has presented both home builders and residential real estate clients. More recently, Rob began working at Renova Solar, where he has been able to merge his real estate expertise with green energy initiatives. Rob actually earned his NAR Green designation in 2014 and is a member of the Coachella Valley Green Resource Committee, as well as a realtor with Keller Williams Luxury Office in Palm Springs. Rob has taken his knowledge of real estate and his experience in the solar industry and designed a presentation to educate realtors about what to know when working with buyers or sellers when a solar system is involved. This is an informative discussion highlighting important issues to discuss with clients regarding solar, removing many of the mysteries and questions surrounding the industry. With that, I would like for everyone to please join me in welcoming Rob Driscoll.
Light of my can everybody hear me? Good morning, Leela. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. You've highlighted my background quite extensively, and I appreciate that. I am very excited to be able to talk to you all today on what you need to know when your home has a solar system. My background in real estate of 25 years led me to understand that with solar, there's a lot of questions and mystery that surround it, especially when you're a real estate agent and you're working with a buyer or a seller and there's a solar system on the house. One of the most important things that I have learned is that panels are the most important component. Who is the manufacturer of the panel on the roof? Currently, there are 80+ manufacturers in the world. It's estimated that in 5 years, it'll be reduced to 10 to 15 different manufacturers. And it's important to understand that because a lot of these, all of these companies with these panels offer different warranties on the panels. Some of the warranties range anywhere from 10 to 25 years. Well, it's important if you're working with a buyer and there's a solar system on the home and there's a warranty that's being represented that's still in place, to understand what the balance of the warranty is and to understand who the manufacturer is of that panel. Is that one of the companies that are going to be in business in the next few years? And again, they're being absorbed or they're going out of business. So it's interesting to try to understand how do they compare to each other. The different systems that are out there, you want to know, is the system monitored? So if there's a home, whether it's your listing or whether it's a home that you're working with a buyer, you want to understand how will that buyer that's going to take possession of that home, how will they understand what their production is of energy on their rooftop through the solar system versus the consumption of what they're actually using in the home. And that's really very important. Not all solar companies design solar systems the same way. the company that I work for tries their best to offset the customer's usage, the current customer's usage, by as much as 100%. So what that means is 100% of what the actual previous 12 months kilowatt hours have been used by the consumer. We do our best to build a system that actually will offset them, hopefully 100%. However, not everybody lives in the home the same way. So if the home is for sale, and if there is one person currently living in that home and you're selling it to a family of 4, there's going to be a different usage. There's going to be more energy consumption. Or on the converse, if there's a family of 3 or 4 and they're selling it to one person, again, there's going to be a different amount of electricity consumed. So it's really interesting, and it's very important to understand what the production is, what the amount of electricity is being produced on that rooftop solar system, and what the current owner's consumption is, so that you can do your best to compare that to those of your buyers. Because if the buyer is buying something that has a value and it's being represented as a value, you want to understand what that value is. Are they going to receive a 0 electric bill, or are they going to receive an electric bill for a certain amount of money that may yet to be determined? One of the important ways to figure that out is you can get a copy of the electric bill. It's the month 12 for the net metering total. So when a customer actually goes and they actually purchase a solar system, they become a net metering customer. It's a NEM document. It's abbreviated NEM. And that NEM document actually converts them from a monthly billing customer to a customer that actually will pay a true-up or a balance of whatever is owed at the end of that 12 months. And that's where you have the net metering total. By having a copy of that bill, that will allow you to see what energy, what electric was produced on that rooftop solar system versus what was still needed to be consumed and pulled in from the electric utility grid. And therefore, you'd have a better idea as to what the house is producing and what the new buyer is going to have to outlay as far as electric. There is a really great tool that is out there on a lot of systems. I know SunPower systems, for the most part, all have them. Some other systems do as well, and it's important to understand which do and which don't. And that is a consumption monitoring device, and it is available on smartphones and tablets. And what that'll do, you can see on the right-hand side of this screen, you'll see in the bottom of that panel, it'll show blue lines. The blue lines are the actual, it's the energy that is being pulled and being used by this specific residence. You could see at about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, a yellow line, a very small yellow line starts. And that yellow line is the beginning of solar production. As the sun starts rising out of the sky, that actually starts to produce solar. And as the sun gets higher and higher and higher throughout the day, you can see that yellow line increase. This was taken in a month where it was relatively cool. There were no HVACs running. So this extra electric, this extra, that the yellow lines, the extra, is actually being sent back to the grid to create energy credits for the months when the energy is being used more than is being produced. And at the top you can see the total energy usage shows 8 kilowatts. Total from grid, they've produced 23 kilowatts, and total to the grid, which was sent back, was 15 kilowatt hours. That's important to understand. The other thing that's important when you're actually working with a home that has a solar system is to understand the age and the size of the system. Technology has changed, just like technology changes on our smartphones every year, every year there's something new, even on our televisions. The same thing with solar. The interesting part is there are some solar systems out there that are considerably older. They're not producing as much electricity as the new systems. They may have 150-watt panels on the roof. The SunPower panel is a 327-watt. So you really want to understand how old is the system, what is the balance of the warranty, so that if the person buying the house and they're saying there is a 20-year warranty, well, if the system's been up there for 12 years, you have 8 years left on that warranty. How much of that warranty is going to benefit the buyer? Is that company that actually manufactured the panels, as we talked about in the beginning of the presentation, are they still in business? Do they still have warranty money, funds, should there be a problem with the system? Again, determining and using that net metering bill, the 12-month bill, but determining what is the amount of the kilowatt hours produced each year. Again, that's important to understand, and trying to determine what the new buyer's energy needs are going to be in that house. In most leases, for example, in a SunPower, there is an actual production guarantee. It's an annual production guarantee. So for every year, they guarantee that the system will produce a certain amount of kilowatt hours. And if it doesn't, they actually will compensate the buyer or the homeowner for the difference. And that's important to understand as well. So the system that's on the roof, if you're working with a buyer, is there a production guarantee? This slide presentation was designed to be able to print out, create a cheat sheet, just questions that you can ask when you're working with a home that actually has a solar system. The system warranty, again, warranties differ by manufacturer. Degradation factor is important. The average solar panel degrades. That means it actually reduces in efficiency by up to 1% a year. So over the course of 20 years, that system is no longer producing 100% of the electricity that it was producing in day one, because each year it actually has degraded by up to 1%. The SunPower panels, and there are some other panels out there, degrade at about 0.25%. So at the end of 20 years, you're still getting 95% electricity that was guaranteed in year one in year 20. That's important to understand because, again, depending on the panels that are on the roof for your homeowner buying it, it may or may not be of value. If it's a good system, it's a value. It's something that can save them money, and it's a renewable resource, and it's very, very good. But if it's a bad system, and this is what we're learning, then it becomes a liability, and you have to factor that in when they're purchasing the home. So understanding what the remaining warranty is, and then in those questions, does it include service? Does it include parts? Does it include shipping? A lot of the warranties out there, they say it's a warranty, they say it's comprehensive, but until you read the fine print and you ask these questions, you don't find the answers out. Most of the warranties do not include the service. So if a system or a panel goes down, that homeowner now will have to pay a day or two of service for 1 or 2 service technicians to come out to the house. They'd have to pay for the shipping of the parts. The panel itself is typically warranted, but all the ancillary items are not. So again, good questions to ask and to be aware of. A big one, a very big question, is the system leased or was it purchased? Often, people lease their solar systems, and they do that because they don't have the 30, 40, 50, 60,000, depending on the size of the system. They just don't have that capital outlay, and that's understandable. So they lease a system. There are some good leases out there, and unfortunately, there are some bad leases out there. The good leases are leases that are a fixed rate lease, And that's important to understand. If a lease is a fixed rate lease, just like in a mortgage, you have a fixed mortgage or you have a mortgage that can go up each year. Well, a bad lease is one that if the lease rate goes up each year, and there are a lot of companies that are selling that, and it's in fine print, and a lot of buyers don't realize that. The company that I work for that represents SunPower, our leases are fixed rate. It's the same price in month 1 as it is in year 20. And it's important to understand what is the remaining lease. So in most leases, there is a clause when a home is for sale. At the time that the home is for sale, the buyer or the seller can purchase the remaining lease out. So it can actually be a negotiated term that at the close of escrow, that lease system can now be a purchase system for the buyer. The seller can purchase it for the buyer, or the buyer can say, I don't want a lease payment, but I do like the fact that I have solar on the home because it is a cheaper way to put electric in the home, so I just will buy out what the remaining lease is. And in most leases, there is a calculated amount that is set for each year, and it is one of the clauses in the lease. If the new buyer wants to transfer the lease into their name, how easy is it to transfer to the buyer? With SunPower, there is a number that the buyer calls. They submit all of their information, and SunPower works with the escrow company that's been named to transfer everything. So at the close of escrow, everything with the lease is taken care of as well. So really important to ask questions all about what's the lease term, the remainder of the lease, can it be purchased out? That could be a negotiating tool, something to know. Everybody asked, well, how do I clean them? What is the maintenance? Well, it is recommended that you clean your panels 2 to 4 times a year. 4 would be optimal. 4 times, getting the dirt off of them, having them sprayed down. There are different companies out there that will come out and clean them. You can use a window company that will clean windows. They all have different rates, so it's important to call, ask what their rates are. We don't recommend homeowners going up on the roof because it could be dangerous. You could fall, you could get injured. But if the panels are actually accessible and you can actually see them, squirting them with your regular garden hose, getting all the dust off is also a good way to keep the dust off and keep that production up. The more dust that actually gets on the panels, the less the production, meaning the less electricity that'll be produced. The nice thing about having a company come out, such as a solar company, an installer, is they'll also regularly inspect the wiring to ensure proper operation of the system. They'll put string analyzers on each one of the panels to make sure that each panel is still producing as it should be producing, and the homeowner is getting the benefits of that. It's interesting, when I do this presentation and I'm sitting in an office of real estate agents, I ask how many agents have sold a home with a solar system, and 10, 15 agents raise their hand in any given situation. Then I ask, how many have had a solar system inspection? Nobody raises their hand. And I always find that interesting. And I find that interesting because it is such a big part of this transaction, especially if the homeowner is representing that it offsets 100% of their electric. And the buyer is either paying a little more or is expecting that when he's figuring out what his operation costs are going to be for this home, there should be a solar system inspection. The company that I work for, Renova Solar, has a company called Renova Plus. And wherever you are in the state, there are solar companies that will do inspections. Our cost is about $125 to come out and do a string analyzer test on each one of the panels to make sure that the inverters are working, make sure that everything is doing what it should be done. That's important. It is really important to recommend to your buyer that they do this. It's just one more step to protect them and protect you. It's very interesting as we wind up this part of the presentation. Most solar companies, and I know that we do, we have a Renova referral program. You actually can go on to renovasolar.com and you can register your referrals using, there's an orange tab. You would enter your information as far as who you are, and then you would enter your referrals contact information. If you like, you can assign me, Rob Driscoll, or whatever company you're using, assign a salesperson that you've been able to create a relationship with that can help you when you have solar questions. For our company, you actually receive a check for $500 from Renova Solar upon completion of installation. So that's a nice incentive. In addition, the SunPower referral program, you would go under the SunPower, or you can actually email me for more information. You can select your dealer, Renova Energy Corporation, and again, I'm available to help any one of your customers. You can enter your referrals contact information. We can online track your referrals, and at the end, when the system's installed and up and powered, SunPower will send a $500 reward card upon the completed installation. So there's some real benefits to partnering with a reputable solar company. That brings us to the end of our presentation today, and we now have some time for some questions.
Yes, thank you, Rob. We highly encourage questions, especially questions that maybe you guys have experience with homeowners out in the field or other agents in the industry on what happens when a home has a solar system. Rob, it does look like we have one question so far.
Okay.
When you were speaking of system monitoring and you mentioned true-ups, is that done monthly or annually?
Okay, great question. So each month you will receive, so when a customer goes to a solar system on their roof, before they actually go, they sign the net metering agreement. We call it a NEM document. That net metering document, or NEM document, what that does is the homeowner will still receive a bill each month. On that bill, it will show the total of energy credits, the actual energy that was produced on the roof that was not used by the homeowner during that course of that billing, and it will show the amount of energy that was actually taken off the grid. So it looks like a bill, but you don't pay it. You do have to pay. There's usually a monthly service charge. In our area, that service charge is between $1.80 and $2.50. So a customer can either write a check out each month for that amount and send it to the energy utility company, or they can send 6 months in advance or 12 months in advance. But the true-up, the actual true-up, so if there's any extra money that is due to the utility company, that is due on the 12th month. So that's the anniversary 12th month of when your solar system was powered on by the utility company. Then that'll be your true up, and that would either be it'll be a bill telling you what you might owe them, or it would be a credit of what they owe you. And in most cases, if they owe you, right now I know, for example, in Southern California Edison, they will actually pay you a wholesale rate for any extra energy that was created on your rooftop solar system, but they're only going to pay you a wholesale rate of 4 cents. Well, Tier 1 is 15 plus, I think it's 15.8 cents. So you can either take the 4 cent credit, or you can roll it over into the next year. Should you have some higher usage, you can offset it that way. Did I answer the question?
It seems like you did.
Okay.
It looks like we have another question for you, Rob.
Okay.
With net metering, Does the utility credit the user's account at the going rate or at the time the energy was collected?
Net metering, does the energy company credit the account? So the account, let me see if I can answer this correctly the way I understand the question.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a credit for credit. So during the net metering, during that 12 months, and so say, for example, you're producing more energy on your rooftop than you're using. Say it's the month of March and you're in Southern California. We're nice enough to have our air conditioning off. We still have a lot of sunshine, so we're producing more. It's a credit for a credit. So they're crediting you when you go to the net metering document, you go to become a NEM customer, they're crediting you a credit for a credit. So if you put 15 credits onto the system and then the following month you need 15 kilowatt hours from them, it's an even dollar for dollar credit. It's only when you go over the amount of energy that you've created credits for is when you'll get a bill. And that's at a tier 1 rate.
Okay, great. And then just going back to the other question that you answered earlier, he's asking just for clarification on what the fixed charge was again.
The fixed charge, the monthly fixed charge from the utility company?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that varies from utility to utility. We currently work in 2 different utilities here at Renova Solar, and they each have different amounts, and it depends. Each house, I have some customers, their fixed charge is $1.80 a month. I have several customers, it's $2, and I have one customer, it's $2.50. I don't know what their science is or their method behind that, but that is just to be connected to the grid is the charge that they charge their customer.
Mm. All right. Okay. Great. That looks like it's most of our questions right now. We still highly encourage you to submit your questions. We're going to be available for a few more minutes, so please send them in. This is your time to ask the expert about solar. And while we wait for that, I'm just going to move on and let you guys all know that this webinar series, in addition to being sponsored by the Energy Network, is also being sponsored by Greenpoint Rated, which is a leading green home certification system in California with more than 31,000 homes certified, including multifamily properties, single home properties. Greenpoint Rated is a simple, affordable, and flexible rating system used by countless builders and developers. It assures residents that a building is healthier, more comfortable, durable, and resource efficient. The Greenpoint Rated system is comprised of leading green building experts, and they actually helped put together this webinar series and set the agenda for which sustainability topics are most relevant to developers and real estate agents and appraisers, just like you guys in the audience. By visiting builditgreen.org /Greenpoint Rated, you will find a checklist to see what kind of upgrades are factored into a Greenpoint Rated certification. Also, there are always educational events such as workshops, webinars like these, and trainings for you to learn more about energy efficiency upgrades. We have a few upcoming trainings. For appraisers, we have the evaluation of sustainable buildings on September 21st, 22nd, and then actually our solar class is a 2-day class. You can learn a little bit more by going to this website link here. You can also register there. It's a free training, and we highly encourage you to join us for that. Additionally, for any real estate agents, we have the NAR Green designation coming up. That's the 100, 200, and 300 series, October 26th, 27th, and 29th down in Laguna Hills. This is also a free training. We highly encourage any of our real estate agents in the audience to join us for this training. Here is Rob's contact information, which a few of you have asked for. Please feel free to email him or give him a call, or definitely visit the website, www.renovasolar.solar. My apologies. I'm going to leave this up for a little bit while we wait for any last-minute questions that come up. But, Rob, it doesn't look like we have any other questions, so I'd just like to thank you for joining us. Actually, we do have one more question. Does Renova offer a power purchase agreement?
They do not offer a power purchase agreement. when folks are actually purchasing their solar, and it makes more financial sense for them to actually use either a line of credit that they have on their home or some other home equity line. Any of the power purchase agreements that we've seen, they come in and the interest rates are so high, it causes the monthly bill not to make sense for them to go solar, so that they're actually not saving money, and their rate of return on the system is so much longer. So at this point, we do not offer that.
Okay, great. And then going back one question. So this question is, so as I understand it, the utility credits 1 kilowatt hour collected with 1 kilowatt hour given and no monetary value assigned to it. Is that correct?
That is correct, unless you produce more kilowatt hours than you use. And at that point, at the end of the 12 months, at the true-up of the net metering bill, you will be given a credit of 4 cents. Actually, in Southern California, Edison, each utility can be different, but you would be given a credit of a wholesale credit of what it would cost them to purchase that electric from a wholesaler. So yes, you're absolutely right. It's credit for credit if you're using it. If you have excess, they will credit you, but it is at a wholesale rate.
Right. Okay, and then one other question is, does Renova use financing options like Hero or California First?
We don't use those. Homeowners can use those, but the homeowners would have to, they can use those, they can qualify for it, but the way that those systems actually compensate for the installation of the solar systems does not work within our financial structure. So a homeowner can use those. They would have to actually front the money first, and then those programs would be able to reimburse the homeowner.
Right. Okay, great. Well, to the audience, I'd like to just say that we will continue leaving the questions pane up, so if you have any last-minute questions, we highly encourage you to ask them. If we can't get to them during the presentation, then we will definitely address them in a follow-up email along with the presentation slide deck and a recording of this webinar. It seems like a few of you guys were very interested in this webinar. I want to pass this information along, so we will definitely send that out. And we'll see if we can get Rob back to maybe present a little bit further in depth for us on what you need to know when a home has a solar system. I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us for this webinar. Hopefully we have more in the future that will be riveting for you guys. And if you have any suggestions, please do let us know, because we want to provide educational opportunities for you, the audience, and our members. I'd like to thank Rob for joining us, and everyone else, have a great day. We will see you at the next webinar. Thank you, Rob.
Great. Thank you. Take care.